Hi, this is Steve Fortner, tech editor of Keyboard Magazine, and I am checking out the new XK3C from Hammond, the successor to the really popular XK3 clone wheel organ. Of course, designed to imitate the sound of the legendary Hammond B3 and Leslie speaker. It's got drawbars, it's got a Leslie simulation, and the review will be appearing in the July '08 issue of Keyboard, July '08. One of the first things I noticed when I got out of the box and got it plugged in was that compared to a lot of previous organs, portable organs, clone wheels made by Hammond, Leslie simulation is a lot better. It was one area back in the day of the XK2, the original XK3, and even going back to the XB2, if you remember that one that had the preset buttons on the front. Hammond kind of got dinged for their Leslie simulation being a little shallow and electronic sounding. That rotating speaker Don Leslie designed, which has got a tweeter firing through one rotating horn and a woofer firing down through a drum-shaped deflector that rotates in the opposite direction as the tweeter. It's a really hard sound to duplicate electronically. It's so stupidly low-tech, but the sound it makes is so unmistakable. It's just so low-tech that it's hard to do by high-tech means. This gets a lot better if you pull out some high drawbars. We're going to do that because high frequencies are more directional. It's harder to fool the ear with a pair of studio monitors like this into believing that high frequencies are really being spun around the room by a physically spinning speaker. So I'm going to hold that high frequency down, and I'm going to switch the Leslie, the simulated Leslie, from slow to fast. Turn it up a little. Back to slow. That's good. You can really hear a sense of both rotors moving, and even though we just have two stationary speakers here, we're using stereo to get the effect of the high frequency spinning at one speed in one direction, and then you can hear the low mids a little lower going whoa, whoa, whoa in the other direction. So it's the sense of independent rotor motion and the depth of it. Really, really pretty good. Far improved over any previous Hammond clone wheel. I also had the vibrato chorus on, which has nothing to do with the Leslie speaker. It was a separate effect that was built into the Hammond B3, the C3, the A100, other organs of that pedigree. And, well, I'm going to show you what vibrato and chorus sounds like with no Leslie. I just turned the Leslie simulation off. Now here's no vibrato and chorus. Now I turn on chorus in the most popular setting, C3. And you get this really nice kind of deep animation. Really nice deep chorus / vibrato sound. There's a more straight vibrato. Kind of sounds more like an Italian organ. But the C positions, the chorus positions, are what jazz cats and rock players preferred. So that's the animation that was built into the Hammond organ. And one way in which the XK3C is improved over the original XK3 is that it's got separate switches for assigning the vibrato chorus to the upper keyboard part and the lower keyboard part. So if I split it, if I do a split and pull out some low drawbars here, left-hand drawbars. There, those are doing a different setting than the top ones. It's a little bit backwards in that these drawbars control the upper part, and these drawbars make an X and control the lower part. So it's backwards visually, but that's exactly how a real Hammond B3 was. The drawbars on the left-hand side, and there were two sets per keyboard. The left-hand side controlled the upper keyboard, the right-hand side controlled the lower. So they're sticking to that tradition here. Now notice I can have vibrato on the lower without the upper. Or vice versa, upper without the lower. Or both. And the XK3 didn't have that. Vibrato was on or off for everything. This, like the vintage B3, allows you to toggle it on and off separately for the upper and lower keyboards. In either case, it seems not to affect the pedals, though. And here we'll pull out the pedal part and use the manual bass button, really ingenious little button they have, where you can bring the pedal part up to the left-hand part, because I don't have the pedal board hooked up to this. So I've got those pulled out. And turning upper and lower vibrato chorus on doesn't affect the pedal part. Now that's not quite the way it was on the real thing, on the real B3. Turning on the either the upper or the lower, I'm a little embarrassed that I'm forgetting at the moment, also turned it on for the pedals. But even though it's not exactly authentic, it's sort of what you want, because a guy who's kicking bass, or any musician who is kicking bass, wants that sound to be steady. You know, you don't want really your bass sound modulating. You want your lead sound modulating, so if you're soloing over it, or comping chord, notice we've got the modulation going on up there, makes the main sound you're hearing more interesting, but the bass is static. It provides a nice solid foundation. So the ability not to have any animation affect your bass is really cool. Doesn't quite extend that far though, because if you turn on the Leslie effect does affect the bass pedals. The Leslie effect affects every part, upper, lower, and bass, in the keyboard equally. That is authentic, because if you were putting a real Hammond B3 through a Leslie speaker, well, that's the only speaker you've got. Every signal that B3 is generating, whether it's from the pedals or one of the keyboards, is going to be going through the Leslie speaker and experiencing that physical effect. Wanted to get back to how the Leslie and the vibrato and chorus interact. As on a real Hammond, if you stack up vibrato chorus, which is part of the Hammond, and the Leslie effect, which is part of the speaker, together, you get an even deeper sound. I'm going to do the Leslie effect on this without the vibrato and chorus. Is that set up right? Yes, it is. I'm going to pull some high drawbars so we can hear it. So here's just Leslie, no vibrato. You can hear that bottom rotor speeding up and catching up with the top rotor, which is authentic, because on a real Leslie, the bottom rotor was heavier. It took more momentum, more work for the motor to get it going. One thing about Leslie simulations, too, is that if you have high frequencies with a fast Leslie, and the simulation isn't so good, that's where it'll show. High frequencies with a fast Leslie is where it'll start to sound electronic, and it really sounds pretty damn good on this. Okay, but now you kick on the C3 chorus on top of the fast Leslie. That's a whole different world. Much deeper, much lush. And you add a little of the overdrive to that, and you get that wonderful Greg Rowley Santana sound. Oye Como Va, one of my favorite solos. One of the solos that I always tried to pick up as a kid and never could quite nail it. I don't think I have yet. So Leslie sounds great, and vibrato and chorus plus Leslie interact very much like they do when you do it on the real thing. A+ to Hammond on this.